Hi guys, how are you all today? I hope everybody's doing well. Marcia, I have no idea if there was a Brother So's live this morning or not. The social team is mixing things up, trying to change when we do things. So I honestly have no idea. I have been too involved, and I just got back from my brother's trying to get ready to go to Houston. So I honestly have no clue what's going on in the brother world today. So, we can always go check it out and see. If you go to the Brother So's Facebook page or their YouTube channel, you'll see if they went live today. But honestly, I have no clue. Like I said, I know that they're switching things up. I'm just not sure as to when they're switching things up. So, yeah, usually it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the time can change, but I don't honestly, like I said, they are trying to switch things up. So I don't know if they went live today or not. A lot of people are in Houston already. Some people did mark it. So truly, not sure. So I don't, no, surely I believe that Angela doesn't leave until tomorrow as well, but I don't know. Honestly, true. I'm like I said, I am out of the brother world, right? I haven't been in the brother world for a week, so I'm not real sure what's going on. So, hi guys, thanks for popping in here. Be sure and give me a like, follow, thumbs up, whatever you want to do. Don't give me the frowny face. So, nobody sent in questions this week, except one person did, but it's a little bit more involved than what we normally do. And part of it I actually did last week, I do believe. So I'll show that again today. And that was how to do light, open, and airy fills by using the flexible spiral fill. But I also thought I'd show you kind of something fun, just a little something fun today. Um, Unless somebody has a specific question that they want to ask. Otherwise, we're just kind of checking in today and seeing what everybody's doing. You can see I went to vote today as well because I'll be gone when it's time to vote. So between Houston and going to Novi next week, I wasn't going to get to vote. So I figured I'd better go do it today. All right, guys, so let's share my screen. We'll start in P Design, and if you guys have other questions, be sure and ask those. So the question that I got today was how to do a light and open airy type fill. And it was similar, what she did was similar to the butterfly that I did last week. So we'll kind of review what I did. So I grabbed a shape, if you remember, and I basically copied it and pasted it, but we could do something different. We could do a range copy and do a 4-directional mirror copy and kind of plop those all on top of each other. That kind of looks like a butterfly now, doesn't it? There you go. And then I merged the two sides together. So I merged this side, I said modify overlap, and I merged them so that it becomes one unit. And I did the same thing on the right-hand side, modify overlap, and I merged it as well. And so now I have two sides of my butterfly. Then I went up to my shapes menu and I changed it from a fill stitch to a flexible spiral stitch. That is where your open and airy fill comes from. There is another one, and I'll show you that one in a second. But once you've got those both selected like that, you can come and change the radiation point by clicking the center point tool, and you'll get that little green and black square. And when you move that, it changes where the spiral flexes from. So that is an easy way to do that. And if you want to play with it and move it over, you can move it down, you can move it up. It can actually be out of the area, just so you know. Oh, that's kind of cool. So you can get a lot of different looks just by playing with that flexible spiral. So what else could I do with a flexible spiral? Let's not do that yet. Let's come here and let's change it to a piping stitch. So the other one that can get a light and airy feel to it is a piping stitch. And if we change the direction of the piping stitch, it'll change the look. And you can reduce the density of that. So right now, the density is at 1. If we reduce that down, you'll notice how that gives you a light and airy feel as well. You could also have it do a manual curve. Ooh, no, don't like that. I like that manual straight line was the better option for that. But you can always play with those angles until you get one that you like. That's kind of cool. So just depends on what you choose as to how it ends up looking. But my favorite for that one would be the flexible, I think. You could also do a spiral stitch. A spiral stitch is once again one that's going to kind of curve around, and you could do reduce the density of that one as well to where it's not as dense going around. And you can notice if we watch that one sew, it sews in a spiral. So the first part of that would be the tangerine there. And that's how that one sews. Then you have a concentric circle. So the concentric circle one, once again, you can reduce the density of it, but it starts from the inside and where the centermost point of the area. So you can also change its entry point where you want that to start from, and you can adjust that and play with that one. So that's another one that gives you some unique looks. But one of the fun things to do with these different fills is to grab a tool that gives everybody a hard time. So this little curved block punch tool, normally I tell you to go left, click on the left side, move over to the right side and click on the left side, move over to the right side. So it's kind of like the military march, left, right, but you're always left clicking. If you right click, you remove your last click. And if you do it this way, you're going to have a nice little curve that goes through there. But what happens when you mess up and you don't? You get a little bow tie. So if you forget which side you're on and you continue clicking, you get some weird stuff going on. But this can actually be quite fun sometimes. So if I grab that and then I change it to like a piping stitch, I get a totally different look. And although it may have been an uh-oh to begin with, it is actually quite fun to play with when you mess it up, because you can get a totally different look from this. And it's more of an abstract embroidery design. It's not going to be your regular embroidery design, but you can come in and play with the little different edit nodes and get something quite fun. Yes, X and Z switch between curve and straight. You are correct. So either one on your keyboard. But also the manual straight one does the same thing. So if you want to click and play with it, you can get some really unique looks as well. Once again, I'm going to switch it back to the piping stitch. And there you go. You've got a nice little abstract design. You could also go in and plop a concentric circle on there. That's a little different. You could do, let's see what the flexible spiral does with that one. Now that one's kind of fun. You can see how it's expanding this bottom part, but the top is still staying in there. So you can get some fun stuff if you just kind of play around with that. All right, so let me come here. Why can I sometimes easily separate the layers of images in CanvasWorkspace and others? Sometimes they are not in layers, Sandra. And that is, so for instance, my computer hates me. There we go. All right, so for instance, this guy right here. When I come and click on this, yes, come on, you can connect to the internet. I just love my firewall. Even though this has been given access to, it makes me do it 3 times. So even though it looks like those are layers, they are not actually layers. They are embedded in it. And sometimes when you bring in, especially if you bring in an SVG file, you'll notice that that has a color in it. But when you bring in your SVG file, usually it looks like this. And if you look in your layers menu, you'll notice that the pumpkins are embedded in this shape right here. So Sandra, when that happens, You kind of have to separate them. And you can come in and tap them twice and you get the edit nodes. And if you get edit nodes around the interior parts as well, then you'll know that that's an embedded layer. So what happened was somebody subtracted the shape out. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I get rid of these, let me get rid of this, and we'll be left with one pumpkin. Let me get rid of all this stuff. Oh, undo. I don't want to get rid of that pumpkin. And then I'm going to get rid of my lines over here. Let's ungroup this. So there's my lines. Here's my pumpkin. But what happens is, if somebody has grabbed a shape and they have embedded a shape within it. So I'm going to bring this one to the front. Hold on. So this is arranged. Make sure it's at the front, and it is. So let's say somebody has grabbed this, and I can show you best by painting this in. So if I paint this one in, and we'll give it the color green, and I'll paint this one in, and I'll give it the color orange. So you can clearly see I have two separate items here, right? When I grab them all and I go to my edit menu and I subtract the front out, that becomes one item. So you'll notice that it knocked out my orange and took away the color. So it is no longer a layer. And if we look in our layers menu, I no longer have a layer. I have one item with a cutout inside it. And that's what's happened with the ones that you're bringing in, is my guess. Okay. Let me come over here and see. Yeah, Vicki, that's why I like doing that. I think it's kind of fun because it does get the flexible spiral and doing the piping stitch. That does give it a different dimension and gives it kind of fun stuff to do. You're having trouble comprehending when and how to use the stitches versus block versus outline. Intent was to make an outline letter of a satin stitch, but you can't do that as an outline. So then I'm going back and forth to try, which is usually blocks. Then you have 100 pieces. Okay. So Kelly, I think I understand what you're wanting to do. And I believe I may have shown this last week, but I can show it again. Okay. So if I come in, there actually is, all right, so I have two questions here. If I change this to a zigzag stitch and I turn off my satin stitch, is that what you're looking for? Because you can increase your zigzag width to make it a thicker letter. And then you have a satin stitch outline around a letter. Okay. Is that what you're looking for? If not, and you're talking about text, if you were wanting instead, well, you would already have a satin stitch. That one's already a satin stitch. So you want the satin on the outline. Well, that's exactly what I just did. So how did I get it to look that close to satin? Well, it is. A zigzag stitch is your satin stitch. Okay. So if we look at this, the only reason I changed that last week was because I wanted to embed a line in it. But if you change your zigzag width to a thicker width, you'll get more of a longer stitch. So yours aren't that tight. That is the density, okay? The density of your zigzag. And if you want it to go, if you want to increase that zigzag density, you can, but 4.5 should be pretty good. You may want to do 5.0. But that should get it. Now, you're looking at my view, and my view may be different than what yours is. My realistic view settings are slightly towards the thick side. So if I went back to thin, you'll notice it's a little bit thinner, but not tons. And remember, I'm in realistic view instead of stitch view. This is stitch view. This is realistic view. So if you're looking at it in stitch view, it's not going to look that tight, because you're looking through a line instead of the thread. And remember, thread fluffs, especially embroidery thread, because of the way it's wound, it fluffs when it embroiders. So it's going to be a little bit thicker than normal. You can, but increasing that zigzag width is how you get a satin stitch outline around any font. It doesn't matter unless it's an outline font. So the only one that would be different is if I come up to my text drop down menu here and I picked this one right here. That one I can't change the way the outline is, and that's just because that is it. It's a running stitch font, and that's all that is. So that one can't be changed unless I converted it to let's see here if I convert to stitches. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, actually, let's do that. I would convert to stitches, and then let's go convert to blocks. Nope, let's convert to outline. And then you can put a zigzag on it. So that's your workaround for that particular one. But you've got three steps here. We don't need all three of those. We only need the one that's the zigzag. So that would be a workaround around that one, but that's the only one that really would need that type of a workaround. Let's see here. What else? You guys are awful quiet today. Thanks, Charlene. I'm looking to see. Nope, no more questions. Guys, y'all are killing me. I need some questions today. No, Stitches does not give you sewing attributes. Stitches takes that and puts it into a fixed stitch format. So that means there's no attributes left. The only time I do that, and I'll actually, there's a couple of times that I'll do that, is if I'm wanting to trick the software, first of all. So let me come in here. Let's make our little butterfly again here. And I'm going to turn it into an applique. All right. Let me undo. I don't want it that much overlapped. Hold on. Okay, so now let's convert this to an applique. Okay, so let's say I wanted to have these stitches go, my covering stitches here go away. Let's go ahead and change some colors so you guys can see what we're doing. Let's go and grab and change that color to, let's come up here and do it. It'll be faster. Let's change that to purple. And then let's change the other two covering stitches to something else. And we'll go with, how about a green? Okay. So now, if I'm coming in here and I want to make sure I remove the overlapping stitches, so let's see which one would be overlapped here. So you notice that this is the top layer, this is the bottom layer. All right, well, if I come in here and I need to ungroup everything first. You can't play with this unless you ungroup. So we're going to select all, and we're going to right mouse click, and we're going to say ungroup. Now, let's come in. Everything should be ungrouped. Now, let me double check that. It is. Okay. So if I come in here and I go to my select point tool, and I click and add a point right here, and I right mouse click and I say split at point, I can then put another one right here and say split at point. And then you'll notice down here I have a little extra segment. So I'm going to select that guy and I'm going to move my cursor in and delete it. But if we look at this, you'll notice that I kind of have some funky stitches there. It didn't quite keep. So I'm going to come and I'm going to move that down, but I've still got a lot of stitches tucked up underneath there. So what I will do sometimes is I'll come in and I'll grab that covering stitch and I'll go shapes and say convert you to stitches. Then I can come in and I can take those extra stitches that are in there that they need to be there, but they don't need to be that far in. I'll grab those little points. I'm going to highlight those points and I'll just move them as close to that edge as I can get them while still keeping them in there. Now I may have to move them one at a time when I get a little bit further down, but this does allow me to tuck those stitches to where they're not such a big hump. You need them there because you've got to have this extending down, but you don't need them so deep into your design. So that's a little workaround. That's one of the times that I convert something to stitches. I do not have to convert it to stitches for the embroidery machine to recognize it as an embroidery design. That is not something you have to do. It's for when you want to finesse something stitch by stitch. So, you can sit there and do this. And yes, Vicki, there is a remove overlaps, but it only works for fill stitches, not for outline stitches. So that would not have worked for this. That's why I did the it's split at point. So you can come in and just kind of tuck those down in there, and that's a workaround. I could do the same thing with this part. I could come in and move. I could either split this. We could split that at point, and I could come over here and split this at point, and then I could come down and look. There's that little piece. Let's select it and delete it. And then I could come in and grab these little extra stitches and just tuck them in. So there are a couple of ways you can do that, but that is the way that if I'm creating an applique with layers and I'm trying to make sure I don't have a big speed bump because they are so overlapping, that is how I can get rid of those, move those stitches to where it doesn't make quite the same hump. Okay. If you have pre-cut appliques and are sewing them down on a project and you want embroidery stitches to go around the edges, example, blanket stitches. Well, what I would do is I would scan it in. Do you have a scan and cut? If not, you can, trying to think of the easiest way to do this. You could take a picture of it with your phone. No, that won't be the right size. I would scan it in at 100 DPI and save it as a JPEG and then take it into my Luminaire, into my design center, and it should convert that outline for you. And you might find it easier to trace around the outside edge onto a piece of paper and scan that in on your scan board. You could do that, of course, but that would be the way to do it. It would. And you could do, if you had a scan and cut, you could scan it in and bring it in as an FCM file into your software, but it's always going to be best if you do it, if you start with the applique versus going to the cut file. Sharon, not that I know of. If somebody knows of a way, recently I've been trying to go back and tell you what I've done during that one, but as far as a search menu goes, I don't know that there's a search one. Hey, I actually love that idea. If you all want to sign up to watch a live and rewatch it and tell me what's in it, that would be great because I'll post that list. That's perfect if you all want to do that, because you know how many hours that we've done in the last 2 years. There's a whole lot, and it's daunting to me at this point. And I'm pretty sure that Patty Hamill has a pretty good list already started out there, but there's not a universal way to just search and say, hey, this is what's in this live. If I have a list of if somebody's gone through and watched them, if I have that list, I will post it on my website for you guys. At this point, I don't know. There are so many things that I've done that, and we've repeated them multiple times. So there's a lot of lives in the past couple of years. You have some dog face designs that you purchased. The one dog that I've had. Well, you could. I mean, so if you're wanting to add stuff to a design, you can certainly do that. Which software do you have, Marcia, before I answer that question? P-Design 11 is not a ton different. They have just added some features that are very nice. The ability to create your own decorative fills, the ability to use decorative fills if you don't have a luminaire or you don't have a machine that has My Design Center in it. It gives you more capability in that way. The Applique wizard has changed a bit to where it's easier to use. The flexible spiral stitch came in. The pasting your attributes that I talked about briefly last week is also available. I'm trying to think what else is new. That background fill wizard's the bomb. So I'll show you one of my favorites. And we've done this many, many times. But let's say I had finished this design. Let me grab it all and move it to the middle. Control M for middle. We're going to act like that's perfectly done. When you go to your background fill wizard and you click on the area, you can do an echo. And you'll notice that right now I've got echo. You also have echo clipped. When you update that preview, it will change the way the echo works. You can choose how far apart you want it to be. You can change it from a running stitch to a triple stitch to a chain stitch. And there are 2 different chain stitch types that you can select. And you can increase or decrease the size of your chain. So if I increased up to 5 millimeters, that makes it a thicker chain. If I decreased it down to 3, which is as low as you can go, you have a skinnier chain. You can, let's go back. Stippling. You'll notice that it automatically removes the background for you. You do not have to do the remove overlaps or the set hole sewing. It automatically does it for you. You can increase your stippling spacing or you can decrease it to have micro stippling. Depends on what look you're going for. You can go to your decorative fills, and then you have a ton of decorative fills that are in the program. So let's say I wanted to do one of, this is one that I created, so it's not one in the program. But you'll notice it puts the decorative fill around the outside edge, and you can change the size of those to however big you want them. There are 58 or 59 built into the program. Let's see how many are built in. Pattern, 54. So there's 54 that are built into the program, and then you can create your own. You also can do a crosshatch stripe for a more traditional quilting look. So this is your stripe, and here is your crosshatch, and you can change the size of it. So if you want it more space between it, you can. Okay, so that would be basically 2 inches. So that would be 2-inch quilting around that. So this is probably, and I'm in agreement with you, Sandra, this has got to be one of my all-time favorites to play with. Oops, let's go back in there and we'll just finish that. And update our preview and say okay. And now your background quilting is automatically done for you. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, so with P-Design 11, let me go over to my import window and let's change my hoop size to something more manageable. Let's just go to the default, which is a 4x4. And let's come over here and go to our design library and let's see if I have, do we have a dog in the animal section? Yeah, okay. Granted, these are not the prettiest pets in the world, but it'll give you an idea what you can do. So if you wanted to have more hair, you can come in with your line drawing tool, which would be this one, open straight line tool, or the curved one, whichever you want to go with. You could change it to a running stitch, and you can come in and you could add spikes to it. Whatever fluff you're planning on doing. There is another thing that you could do if this is not how you want to do it. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to do, but this will give you the concept of what you can do. And then you can change it to the color that you want. So if I go to my color tab and I pick the dark brown that's in it, there you go. I've got dark brown spikes for my dog. And I could come in and change the run pitch, which is the length of that stitch, to make it longer to where it doesn't chop it off. So then I've got a nice long stitch. Another way that you could do it is, let me delete that one. You can come in and you can grab your block punch tool, and you can come in and just kind of futz with this a little bit. I'm just going to make a big block. And you can come in and go to feathered edge. And you could feather both sides. Let's change that color to that darker color. And, ooh, we need to take the undersewing off. That's why we're getting all that gunk. And you can change the feathered amount to a lesser or a greater. So whichever side you click first is going to be the top side. The side that you click last is going to be the bottom side. And once you get it the kind of the way you want it, you can come in and you can adjust the spikes by adding in nodes. And there are different stitch types that you can select from. So let's say we want it to look like this. There are different feathers that you can pick. So if I come in here and I don't like that feathered edge, I can come try a different one. Let's see if we like this one better. You get totally different looks, okay? And you can change how big of a dive you want it. Do you want it less of a dive? You go down in number. If you wanted a bigger dive, you go up in number. So let's make that purple so you can let's make it green so you can see. And that gives you a totally different look just by doing a feathered edge. And you can, like I said, you can come in and play with your edit nodes and get it however you want it. If you want it feathered on both sides, you choose feathered edge on the top and the bottom. So it all depends on what you're going for. Does that help? That helped? Good deal. So those are two ways that you can play with it. You could do the curve block punch tool as well. So you could go for that. How do you change the knockdown stitch from making rectangle to actually fitting your design? In BES 4 or in PE Design 11? Kelly, need to know which one you're going to do, which one you want. I'm waiting on Kelly's answer. Once she gives me that answer, I'll pop back over and we'll look at it. I don't know if I've got BES 4 up yet. Yeah, I agree. A group effort would be awesome if you guys would help tackle that. I would love it. It would make my life a ton easier. Kelly, have you got, okay, Pete, ooh, and next. I don't even have that on my computer anymore. Okay, Kelly, I don't remember. Would you go look on your computer and see if it has the embroidered patch wizard? If it does, that's going to be easy. If it doesn't, it's going to be harder. What you can do, let me think about this, because next is a different animal. Because you don't have convert to outline. Yeah, I don't have a computer that has next on it any longer. Hold on. And that I'm going to have to answer that one next week because um, I'm going to have to answer that one next week, Kelly, because I don't. The computer I'm on, I do not have Next on it. I don't even know where my installation CD is. It's been so long since I've used it. So I would have to go back and check and see if there's a different way. My brain is just, I don't remember if it has it. And I'd either have to get out a book, which y'all don't have time for today, and neither do I. So give me, hopefully I can do it next week. If not next week, I'll do it the week after. It's just, like I said, I've got one day in between Houston and going to Novi. So I'm not real sure. If you guys are going to to Houston, please be sure and drop by and say hi to Heather and myself and all of the rest of the brother team, because shall be there and look forward to seeing you guys. And that's not, you're working. I understand. There may be a way. If not, you may have to trace around it. I mean, I can't remember I know it doesn't have the background fill, Vicky. That came with 11, but I was trying to remember if it has the embroidered patch wizard on it. If it has the embroidered patch wizard, you can click that button right there and it will go around your outline of your shape. And then you can take that and you can turn on the fill and turn it into, I don't think you have the net fill stitch. So you'd have to choose the cross, yuck. You'd have to use a motif stitch, and I would choose, let me think, what motif would I pick? I would pick either this one right here. That one does a pretty good job of knocking down, or I'm looking to see. This one does a decent job of knocking down. Or you can make one that's a wing stitch. I mean, you could just make a crisscross one if you wanted to. So there is not an embroidered patch wizard. That's what I was afraid of. So if there's not, then you're going to have to take your drawing tool and you can go with a closed, I would go with a closed curve and just left click around your design. And if you need to turn a corner, the Z key turns the corner, the X key goes back to curves. It's the old way of doing it, but that is still available. They just don't have as many easy tools as we have these days. And double click when you get to the end, and then you can put in your stitch. I would choose one of those stitches that I was telling you about. So let's see here. Let's see what this one looks like. That's not bad. And then you could change the size of it to a smaller size. And you get a decent knockdown there. Or honestly, if you make yourself just a cross, if I can get this back over here, if you make yourself just a cross, like, I mean, you don't have to do the wing needle one that I did here. Just a little cross, that will actually take care of it pretty well. And just change the stitch size down, and that will do it. And then you can move that to the front. So that's your easier way of doing it. Okay. And then just change your outline stitch to the same color as your background, same as your knockdown. Okay. There's just not the same tools. All right, guys. If there is nothing else, then I am going to say ta-da for today, because I have to get back to finishing packing. I've got to get samples packed and finish my laundry. So hopefully everything's good. I do have good news on the brother front. On my brother. His tumor did shrink, so the radiation did seem to work to some degree. There's still quite a bit of tumor there, but radiation did shrink it. The radiation and chemo shrunk it. So we're now on a double dose of chemo starting tonight. Hopefully he handles that well. So you guys have a great rest of the week. If you're in Houston, be sure and stop by. If you're not in Houston and you're going to be in Novi, be sure and stop by there as well. So yeah, yay! I'm thrilled that that things worked pretty well, and that absolutely elevated his mood a bit. So you guys have a great rest of the week, and hopefully I'll see you Tuesday. No promises though. All right, and if you guys split up and decide you're going to go through and watch the lives and see which ones have what in it, let me know. I will be so happy. And I'll compile it all. But just be sure to put the date. That will help. And I'll come back in and note what we did today on this one. If I can remember what I've done today. What did I do? We did flexible spiral. I did how to put a satin stitch outline. What else did I do today? Different light airy fills that you can do. Guys, if you're in the Education Connection group, and if you're not, you probably ought to join it. It's the Education Connection. It's a Facebook group that Heather and I have. You guys can coordinate there pretty easily. Where did that go? Oh, I'm looking. I know I've got a, here you go. This is the Facebook group. All you have to do is be sure to agree to the terms and answer the questions. And then if you guys want to get together, that's a good way to say, hey, I'll take the first however many. Okay. Thanks, Vicki. If you give me those two, I'll be sure, and just shoot me an email or send me something via Facebook Messenger. So the Education Connection is a great group for you guys to be able to connect with each other and coordinate as to who wants to get it. Darlene says she would be happy to work with a group of volunteers who can help. So yes, that'd be great. That would be awesome. And that would help me out tremendously, because I honestly, and I mean, I could probably put it on my webpage as well, on my webpage and on my Facebook page as well. But the Education Connection group would be a great place to coordinate if you guys are so inclined to do so. You don't know how much of a weight that would take off of me, because that is hours and hours and hours that I just, honestly, I'm one person. You're looking at the corporation of Cynthia's Embroidery. This is it. Okay. So, all right, y'all have a great rest of your day. Hopefully I'll get to see you next week. And remember, send in those questions. So Darlene says, if anybody's interested in volunteering to watch and describe content, message her and she can create a plan offline. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, that would be cool. So that, I mean, great, lots of great ideas. So Vicki, I usually go back and try to add what's covered after I've done the lives. That's why I was saying, okay, so what did we do today? So usually I go back and say, all right, we did this, this, and this. I've been trying to do that for the last 2 or 3 months, but sometimes I forget when I've got to go on to something else. Sometimes I forget. So if you guys want to do that, that would be great. And Edna says she's got a few months that she can send to me as well. That'd be great as well. All right, guys, y'all have a great rest of the day, and I will hopefully, like I said, see you next week. Bye.